America, and a translation. He makes his home in Toronto. And welcome, Ewan.
Hello. Wow. Wish I were Kenneth Clark talking about art. But anyway, thinking of that, writing about art, thinking of Ruskin and his famous line, so the civilizations write their manuscripts and write their histories in 3 manuscripts: the book of their deeds, the book of their words, and the book of their art. But of the 3, the art is really the only trustworthy one. People give us a line, but the art gives us sort of the real story of what we're up to. So I have fun with some artists in this, and I describe the art of a crazy religious cult. But I thought I'd read a little bit from that, as that's been in the news and on the Fifth Estate TV program lately. So, yeah. So, the Community of Jesus, Grenville Christian College, the art of deception. Isolation is that impasse into which men are driven, where the political sphere of their lives, where they act together in a pursuit of common concern, is destroyed, while isolation concerns only the political realm of life. Loneliness concerns human life as a whole. Totalitarian domination is a form of government, is new in that it is not content. You know, I can't actually see, which is a problem. So, okay. There we go. There we go. Oh, that was suddenly.
Oh, sorry.
Totalitarian domination is a form of government. It is new. That it is not content with this isolation and destroys private life as well. It bases itself on loneliness, on the experience of not belonging to the world, which is among the most radical and desperate experiences. It's from Hannah Arendt, Origins of Totalitarianism. Despite their ground in human creativity and freedom, it has long been known that music, art, and poetry are central to the construction of forms of social order and control. Plato banished them from his ideal republic. In the case of the controversial Community of Jesus cult, their art, music, and poetry programs were crucial pillars in the construction and maintenance of what former members' accounts revealed to be a totalitarian micro-community. The music and art programs especially have served as legitimizing fronts for this charismatic Christian group, whose leadership lived lives of luxury while many of its lower-level members lived very modestly, with many giving much of their money to the group while taking vows of loyalty and obedience to the leaders for life. My experience as a young child, starting at age 8, and including forced extended visits through most of my teenage years, as well as living at its close affiliate, Grenville Christian College, in Ontario, a boarding school near Brockville, for 3 years, was one of extreme isolation, violence, and loneliness. An Ontario Superior Court ruled in 2020 that Grenville Christian College, whose staff were members and lived by the values and practices of the Community of Jesus in Orleans, Massachusetts, engaged in decades of abuse of students between 1973 and 1997. Its former headmaster, Charles Farnsworth, claimed that the staff of the school were members of the Community of Jesus. It closed in 2007. Judge Janet Leiper, in her decision issued February 2020 in a class action suit against Grenville, stated, "I have concluded that the evidence of maltreatment and the varieties of abuse perpetrated on students' bodies and mind in the name of the Community of Jesus' values of submission and obedience was class-wide and decades-wide." Anyway, it goes on like this. I have all sorts of choice tidbits of sort of crazy quotes. It goes back to the Germans. Of course, these things have a habit of doing that. And they used a sort of brainwashing technique called a light session, which actually was from German, Lichtgemeinschaft, and then it was practiced in a German cult. And the Germans actually came over and trained them. So what do you know? We have the influence in Canada as well. But anyway, enough of that. I'll just read one poem, because that's what I used to do, and still do. second. Okay. Yeah, we always have some friend die at one point. Traveling on a night bus between cities, the overhead lights turned out. A stillness of strangers resting side by side in their seats. Long after midnight in the outer darkness, along the sides of the highway, the mangled treetops of autumn pass in a grotesque parade of shapes against the half-moon haze. While watching a procession of collapsing monsters our ancestors would have called gods, I receive the confirming phone call that you have died. Most are asleep on this bus. From the back, I can hear the sleep-fighting voices of talking children through the silencing of their mothers. In front, a lit-up electronic device is reflecting off a window, double imaging the trees and the ceiling. I think of you and your outrageous life, its odd mixture of high and low brow, your piano playing of Beethoven and Brahms, your respectful mimicking of Dino Lipati's recording of Bach's Joy of Man's Desiring during his remission from cancer, your rendering of Bach as a subtle question and answering, and how you would obsess on the disembodied bliss of static time in art, your presence held back from the self-conscious rush to death we all face, where for brief moments there is no time at all. Against this, there were the hardened strippers you would date, bringing them into the church to drink wine and play the organ after the Montreal bars closed. Your comment that this urge against the sacrosanct is in all of us, to smash past an image, to get to what is behind it, to find only another persona. You said you had grown tired of this. Your week-long bushwalks of 200 miles, your interpretation of Coville's painting, Dog and Bridge, the frozen instant of a dog crossing a bridge where brooding imminence is created by the carefully constructed geometrical design, drawing our line of sight to the German shepherd in the center right, intensifying our sense of impending violence. You spoke of the storm of sorrow that would come back on you, its ordained demons of darkness hovering near you, an aching loneliness that could only be taken away by impersonal art. Passing into a town, the opposing traffic charges toward the bus in a sudden pounding rush of blood. I blocked the headlights, covering one eye, losing myself in the central yellow line of the road. After a time, I look up, waking into the changed landscape, to the sound of Mozart's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, in the voices of small children from the back of the bus, through their mother's gentle words about sleep. So, thank you very much for everyone coming.
Thank you so much for that reading. I think everybody in the room just feels a little bit smarter now, which is great. Next.